Maxpeedingrods Coilovers after 10 months. Let's look them over and let's see if we can make them a little better. So here they are, guys, two Maxpeedingrods Coilovers for 1995 BMW 318 for the E36 platform. And honestly, guys, these coilovers aren't bad. They are not bad. If you're trying to get low, they are not bad. But I feel like the things with cheap coilovers is tempering expectations. What are you looking for and what are you expecting out of it? Okay, your initial investment. These coilovers cost me nothing but 240 bucks. Certain sales and different things like that, if you use my promotion code, you can get it even cheaper than that. Link will be in the show notes of this video. But for $240, will they be a direct replacement to some BC coilovers, to some Fortune Auto coilovers, to any of the other ones? Not direct comparison. And you've seen it on the show on Donut Media, the high-low series that they had on cheap coilovers versus the really, really high dollar expensive ones. There is a difference in it, but depending on what you're trying to do, that will tell everything. Now, I've got tagged on Facebook and all kind of different things about these Chinese coilovers cracking and stuff like that. And I'll be the first one to tell you guys, there's no cracks. Newsflash, there's no cracks. Now, is that user error that the person installed their coilovers wrong, left something loose, didn't torque something down? It could be a number of different things that they could have done to get that result, or it could have just been bad manufacturing. I'm not excluding that from the equation. But I've seen several videos, like let's say looking at wheels, and people believe in buying these real expensive wheels for $2,000. But if you go to the factory and wherever it's at in China or any of these other countries, those wheels are sitting right next to the cheap knockoff wheels. Going through the same process with the same material, one just has a different name on it than the other one. Now, am I automatically implying that? I'm not. I'm not implying that. These coilovers still do have their issue. One of the issues that we have is on this passenger side one here. As you can see, it's got a little bit of dirt and crust and grease and stuff in there because it knocks. Part of that is the design. Part of that is it is spinning when it shouldn't be, causing it to knock. That's part of it. So, could that be fixed with a different top mount here? Very well could. Another thing is the coilovers are too stiff. Now, I will admit that even after changing the dampening, I have not blown any shocks when people complain that they've blown shocks because I set my preload. But not only that, it still is a bit rough. It's a bit rough. But when you're going low, that's a trade-off. That's something that you have to look into. These coilovers, I still stand behind them because they work. The knock is the only thing that get on my nerve. Now, I want to drive this car on longer distances. Eventually, one day, I want to take off a day. I want to go and drive the tail of the dragon. I want to do these things. These coilovers are stiff. I feel like they're a little too stiff. I feel like they are a little too stiff. So we will address that. But let's look over and disassemble one of these coilovers. This problem one here that's constantly knocking because the spring is turning. Let's take this apart and let's see what we can investigate and find out.
Beats.
Made quick work of that. There we have this. That's really stiff though. Despite it being in the car so long, that's a bit stiff. We're removing this, and as we look at this, we see the rubber is cracking right here. Doesn't look terrible, but also we can see that we're getting some movement right here. This is where we're getting some movement, which could also be causing a noise. And of course, me trying to remedy it, the thing with using grease and WD-40 and everything like that is it attracts the dirt. And as we see, that's definitely what it's doing. We're gonna set that to the side. We have the spring. Now this spring is an 8K spring. Now let me go ahead and get my phone so I don't lie to you about the actual specs of it. But an 8K spring is the equivalent of 450 pounds per inch. Okay, so 450 pounds has to be exerted down to move this down 1 inch. That on a BMW 318 is a bit high. So when you're starting to get into things like this, you're trying to look at corner balance and weight and stuff like that. Now, when you go to a proper suspension shop, they will go into putting your car on scales, seeing what the corner balance is, adjusting each spring and coilover at its own independent rate, so you have a seamless and suspension that's working in a harmonious way. But for us do-it-yourselfers, we're trying to do a little bit of math on our own. Now, from doing math, I see that 8K is way too stiff for my TI, my compact. So I dropped it down and I went on eBay and I did some research, and we're gonna see if the coilovers I got are actually gonna fit. But I went with some 200 to 300 pounds per inch. So that's anywhere from a 4.5 to a 5.3. That is a whole lot lighter than these 8K springs. So 4.5 to 5.3K springs or so instead of these 8K springs. So I'm gonna get those coilovers and we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison. This will be the first time that I'm doing this, and we're gonna measure it and we're gonna see if this is actually going to work or not. Here it is. This is the 200 to 300 pounds per inch coil over spring that I got off of eBay, and I think it was around 30 bucks or so. Now the first thing you see off the rip is this one is smaller than this one is. It's a size difference a bit. So will it fit? I'm not sure, but let's go ahead and finish, set these to the side. And let's finish tear this apart and let's see what is going to happen from here. So let's see what it looks like. So as we pull this bottom one off as well, we got more dust and dirt. You see this is starting to crack some more. You know, I'm truly wondering if some better grade rubber would do better in this situation. I'm not quite sure, but you can see this is constantly moving. This is constantly spinning, and it's causing these marks and things like that on there. So maybe that has to do with it. So we're gonna set this to the side as well. Pull this off, pull you off as well. This isn't cracked, just a little bit dirty, could use a good cleaning on it. This is perfectly fine as well. And then as we go further, if we wanted to try and break it apart, but I don't have the tools and stuff like that to relieve the pressure and everything. So this may be it. But what I am curious of is I wonder how far this can extend out of the housing before it actually comes out. So let's try that and let's see here.
Bruno Ferreira Beats.
And there you have it, guys. I just cleaned, readjusted, and changed the spring on one of my coilovers. Now, one thing that you may or may not have noticed is that this collar right here where the spring sits on, right here, I flipped that upside down because these springs have a diameter that is 1/2 inch smaller than the other. So this one, correct size for this coilover, this one is a 1/2 inch smaller, just a 1/2 inch smaller. Now, it could have sat on this little shoulder that's right here, and who knows, I may take it back apart and switch it around, but it sits pretty flush, and once I put preload on it, I doubt it's gonna move anywhere. Also, I've got the clean gaskets and stuff, which again, if I had like a couple rubber sheets, I'd cut some new O-rings that are made out of rubber that would go there, that would kind of do a little bit better job of isolating and dampening any kind of too much suspension move from these coilovers. But you know what? Again, Maxpeedingrods Coilovers, man, they clean up and they look very, very, very nice. Now, one thing I will say is that this top hat still is very still. You may have noticed in the time lapse that I was trying to constantly clean it, trying to get that ball head to move around a little bit more freely. It's not doing it, unfortunately, but you know what? Maybe stiffer becomes better. Maybe it loosens up over time. So this is 10 months right here. This is what 10 months of road grime, driving it, dailying it, everything like that does. And this is when you clean it back up. And honestly, wow, that looks good. Like, I couldn't have picked the perfect color to match with it. I'm gonna drive it. I'll leave a link in the description for these springs, and I'll do a follow-up on how I like it. Also, you'll notice that there is quite a bit of a difference in the height between these two things here. That's coming up for another video that you will have to subscribe and find out. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. But all I ask is if you tell me how I can improve my content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace! Just finished the video, and lucky me forgot bump stop and the shielding, so guess who's taking that one apart again. Anyway, peace!